How's it going, guys? My name's John. I'm with Zebulon Pottery. In today's video, I'm showing you how to trim your pots. And stick around, I'll show you how to do this. Alrighty guys, let's talk about tools. I use a lump of clay. I usually divvy it out into 4 pieces for anchors, which I'll show you later. Now we're talking about the different types of trimming tools. I use ribbon tools. I prefer a larger ribbon tool. And then the last thing I'll use for this demonstration is a needle tool. You do want to, before you start trimming or even get the piece centered on the wheel, you want to figure out the depth or how much clay you want to remove on the piece. I do that by tapping my fingers together and getting a mental note of how much clay there is to remove. Get the wheel head a little damp, and that way those anchors hold on a little bit tighter, because you definitely don't want those coming up, because that's what's holding your piece on the wheel head. Before I add the anchors, I'm going to figure out where centered is. I use the needle tool to draw gauge marks, see how far I'm off. So I just take a guess. This is fairly close. The more you do this, the closer you'll get just by eyeballing it. And then I figure, okay, well, the closest side is close to me, and then the farthest side is away. I divvy up the difference between the edge of the piece and the inner circle that I drew, and then I cut the difference and pull it back to me by the difference of the line I drew and the edge of the pot. This is just showing you, once you've kind of moved it, what the difference is. It's not going to be super noticeable, but it definitely is a lot closer to being centered. So you'll see, like, the arrow I drew at the bottom, now there's clay where before there wasn't. And that little bit of clay that's away from me, some of it kind of pushed out because of the line, but that's really close to center, and it's definitely going to work. Nobody's ever going to be able to tell the difference between it being off by like 1/2 millimeter or 1 millimeter or something like that. The closer you get it to center, it is easier to work it though, so it's worth your time to try to get it as close as possible. I typically work on the outside top going down and cut off the excess clay, and then come back in and round it out. And then from there, it's all about working your shape. I tend to take a little bit of excess clay on the side of the pot, and my goal here is to really remove as much excess weight as I possibly can, and also have the pot be aesthetically pleasing. And that's going to be personal preference. But I like a nice ring foot, and I also like it to look like that ring is coming off of the piece, and that the bowl looks like it would have continued on its own, and that the ring was added on after. And the way you do that is you want the wall of the pot to continue through the foot. And I'll show you when I take this off kind of what that looks like. Now, it's really important to talk about the clay itself and the stages of clay. This clay right here is leather hard. It's almost perfect for trimming. You'll notice it's not sticking back to the piece, and it's also not flaking off in like a powder or anything like that. And why that's important is because if it's too sticky, it gets in your way, and it makes it a little bit harder and more of a hassle than what it's really worth. And if it's too dry, honestly, at sometimes when it's too dry, you might as well just reclaim the piece, because the amount of work you'll have to do to get it trimmed isn't worth the effort. So getting it in that perfect sweet spot is definitely worth aiming for. At this point, it's done. You can take it off, you can check it, you can see how the sides kind of follow the foot. And I hope this was helpful. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, comment, do all the things.